Of the many major crimes that are considered crimes against humanity, none is more heinous than genocide. What is genocide? Has Israel committed genocide in Gaza? Article 2 of the UN Convention on Genocide defines it as any of the following acts committed with the intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group as such. Killing members of the group, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part, imposing measures intended to prevent birth within the group, forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. First of all, it is important to find out whether victims of genocide belong to a specific national, ethnic, racial, or religious group. Although 138 of 193 UN member states recognize Palestine as a state, it is still not accepted as a full member of the UN because the UN Security Council cannot accept it unanimously. No wonder, since the USA and Great Britain are Israel's strongest supporters. This is the weakness of democracy when the small minority can dictate the majority. Due to that, there is still the ridiculous argument about whether there is a nationality called Palestinian. But they are certainly an ethnic and racial group. They are clearly identified as Palestinian Arabs. Even though Israel does not recognize them as Palestinians, they still refer to them as Arabs. Well, most of them are Muslims. There are Christians and Jews in the minority. Western media only portrays the Palestinians as wholly Muslims, and this means they can also be identified by their religion. Therefore, Palestinians qualify as a group being inflicted by genocide. Now, the convention states that genocide involves the killing of members of a group. We see the victims of Israel's murderous acts every single day. We are all witnessing the bodies of children, women, old people, all civilians, being pulled out of rubble. So far, there are almost 20,000 dead, and the body count continues to rise every day. They are all victims of Israel's wanton bombing of homes, refugee camps, hospitals, schools. This is clearly genocide. Did Israel's actions cause serious bodily and mental harm? Among those who survived the bombs, we see small children with limbs blown off their frail bodies, some forced to have limbs amputated without anesthesia. These are all permanent injuries inflicted on the Palestinians. We see many suffering from post-trauma stress disorder, except nothing is post. Survivors are under constant fear of not surviving the next attack. They are continuously being terrorized. That too is defined as genocide. Evidently, Israel is bombing not just the north but the whole of Gaza. The destruction wrought is clear for all to see. Not only has Israel bombed homes and residential complexes, with families still dwelling in them, they've also bombed hospitals while doctors and nurses were treating the injured, bombed schools used as shelters for the displaced, including those run by UNRWA, destroyed roads on which Palestinians were fleeing the bombings, targeted ambulances rushing the injured to hospitals, targeted journalists, medics, rescue workers, and many others. Israel has also cut life-giving supplies of water, food, medicine, fuel, electricity, other than destroying the sewage system, which will cause widespread disease. There is clear proof of Israel firing artillery shells containing white phosphorus in contravention of international humanitarian law. All these evidences overwhelmingly point towards genocide being perpetrated by Israel. Is Israel imposing measures intended to prevent birth among the Palestinians? Well, we see pregnant women not being spared the bombings. Many have died, still carrying babies in their wombs. Even the babies who were born prematurely didn't survive for lack of electricity to power incubators. Most shocking are the scenes of babies dead on their beds after doctors and nurses were forced to abandon the hospitals. This too proves Israel committed genocide. Ironically, to justify their genocide, Israel had used the excuse that babies were beheaded, that babies were hung on clotheslines by Hamas on October 7th. The truth is now out. They were all lies. Palestinian children who survived Israel's bombings were made orphans. It isn't yet clear who will be responsible for their care. We see many of those who have lost whole families in shock and lost, not comprehending the fate that has befallen them and what to do next. They too are victims of Israeli genocide. From all of that, it is indisputable that Israel has committed the worst atrocity of all, that is genocide. The evidences prove that genocide as defined by Article 2 of the UN's Genocide Convention were committed by Israel in Gaza. And so, it is imperative that those responsible be brought to international justice as criminals who committed genocide, be tried, sentenced, and punished for their crimes against humanity. Who are they? Wait for my next posting.